completely been lost. And, if we're going to move our country forward, we're going to have to find ways to listen to the concerns of people on the other side of the aisle and take them into account and make decisions that are good for the people. I think that right now our government is so much caught up in gridlock and serving the interests of big business, special interests, and really are ignoring the interests of average people. I spent all those years working with families from all walks of life. So I understand their issues. Their issues are my issues. And there are a lot of serious problems facing our society today, which I think are being largely ignored by Washington. But in my opinion, government has a responsibility to do for us collectively what we can't do as individuals. So that's why I'm running. I want to help solve problems.
Great. What are some of those issues that are important to you and that are important to the voters in your district as you talk to them? As
I toured the 14 counties that make up the 4th district the first time, I learned that the opioid epidemic is probably the biggest issue that all of the counties face. It's a huge crisis, and if you look at the map of the United States, it shows that this is a problem in every state, but it's really severe in Ohio. And it's certainly prevalent in all of the counties in the 4th district. So that will probably be my number one issue going forward. I'm also very concerned about our educational system, as you can imagine, being a retired teacher. I'm very concerned that we are educating our children for the future. And I'm also very concerned about the health care that we are not providing for our citizens. We are the only industrialized country that doesn't offer health care to all of our citizens. And there are a number of options on the table. I'm particularly interested in the expanded Medicare for all. I think that's a system that could work for all of us, and it would take the health care out of the hands of employers, which would be a great benefit, especially to our small business owners. And additionally, I'm very concerned about the stagnant wages that we have for middle class and working class people. The middle class definitely needs a raise. So we could address the infrastructure problem by creating a lot of infrastructure construction jobs, which would address the infrastructure problem as well as the economic problem at the same time. So that's certainly not a full list of all my concerns, but those are the top ones.
The district is 14 counties. I think we're going to have to put a map up when we post this episode because this is one of the stranger-looking districts, even in Ohio, which is a lot of strange-looking districts. This described this one to me as the Daffy Duck district. It has a bill and a wing.
That's right.
Can you talk a little bit, though, about, obviously this district spans a very large geographic area, but can you sort of talk a little bit about what the kinds of people who live in the district, what sorts of, things they do, what they're really thinking about day to day?
The district is very sprawling. It's primarily rural. There are several medium to small cities in the district, lots and lots of cornfields and soybean fields as you drive through the district. I can tell you that every community has a lot of pride in their communities, and they are working very hard with what resources they have to develop their communities. They're facing a lot of problems. Every community that I've been in, every mayor that I've talked to has told me that when Governor Kasich came in, he took money away from the municipalities, he took money away from the school systems, and that has really hurt every community. So we're all praying that the next governor that comes in is going to give that money back to help our communities have the resources that they need to thrive. There are festivals all over the district, especially in the summer. We're trying to hit all of the county fairs. We've been to about 5 so far. There's a lot of community pride shown in those fairs as well. The average income for a household in the 4th district is about $40,000, which is just a little bit above the poverty level. So we don't have a lot of rich people living here, but we do have a lot of people that could use some more help than what they're getting right now, which is another reason why I'm running.
This district in the past several cycles has voted pretty overwhelmingly Republican. I looked back on Wikipedia, and of course the lines have been redrawn over time, but the last time a Democrat held the 4th district was, I believe, 1937. So can you talk a little bit about what makes this year, this cycle different, and what you think your path to victory is?
This year is completely different because there is so much energy on the ground. I think it started with the Women's March on Washington, which I went to with 2 of my grown daughters. It was very exciting. And then the Indivisible movement began, and there are Indivisible chapters in every single county. There's a lot of energy and excitement that's going on subterraneously and doesn't get covered in the press, because the press is covering the latest shenanigans that have been going on in Washington and not really covering what's going on the ground. But what I'm seeing is groups of people that have never been politically active before are now coming out of the woodwork. I've had multiple people come up to me and say, I'm donating to your campaign, even though I have never donated to a campaign in my life. And I am so honored and so humbled whenever that happens. But we're actually getting support from all over the United States as a result of some of the things that my opponent has said on television. So I guess I have to thank him for that.
Might be the only thing we thank him for.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I've looked through your Facebook page, and it looks like there's just a ton of events. Your team is just out constantly and doing lots of phone banking and throughout the district. I noticed that coming up next week, I haven't seen a lot of Democratic candidates do this, but you're going to have target practice with Janet.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Well, I am a gun owner, and I own a Ruger 22 caliber target pistol, which I take to a range and shoot at pieces of paper. And so I'm going to take my gun to the range, and we're going to shoot the gun. I mean, it's really to reassure the lawful gun owners that nobody's interested in coming to your house and taking your guns away. However, I do think that with the gun situation, there are things that we can do and should be doing about the public safety. The event is actually designed to start a dialogue about what things we can and should be doing, because I think even gun owners will agree that there are things we can and should be doing to protect the public safety.
I saw that you were a kindergarten teacher. I have a son who just finished kindergarten, so I think anyone who can control a room full of kindergartners can probably handle Congress. But are there skills that you picked up in teaching that you think will be beneficial to you as a legislator?
You know, it's so funny that you said that, because I have been told multiple times that teaching kindergarten is probably really good practice for going to Congress. The only problem is I can't put them in timeout when they're misbehaving. Only the voters can do that. Well, as a kindergarten teacher, I think any public school teacher our mission is to take care of everyone. We don't care what color you are, where you come from, what language you speak, what religion you are. Our mission is to take care of everyone and do the best we can. And that is the mission that I take with me to Congress. I expect to be a representative for everyone in the district and not just the people who voted for me. So I think that's one of the biggest differences between me and my opponent.
All right. Well, I know you have a packed day and you're running from event to event, but is there anything else that you would like to make sure that our listeners know about you or about your campaign?
I just want to tell a quick story about when I was teaching. During my last year, I had a little boy in my class. He was a very sweet, quiet little boy, very well behaved. And it was a Friday afternoon, and he started getting really agitated. And I sat down with him because it was very uncharacteristic of him. I sat down with him. I said, "Can you tell me what's going on?" And he said, "I don't want to go home." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because there's no food in my house." So at school, he was able to get breakfast, lunch, and then we would have a snack in the middle of the afternoon. And I always insisted on a healthy snack for the kids. We had in our school the backpack program, which a lot of school districts have now, but his family had not signed up for it. So I called the mother. I was able to get her on the phone, and I got her verbal permission to sign him up for the backpack program. I got coverage from my class. I went down to the storage room and filled up the backpack with food and gave it to him so that he would have something to eat over the weekend. And I think the reason that I wanted to share that story is because I think it's an analogy for what I'm doing right now. I'm going around the district. We've got this very rigorous country over party tour that we're doing. We're meeting with many different constituent groups, and we're having a lot of focus groups, and talking to people so that I can become as informed as possible. Instead of listening to one little boy and saying, "Can you tell me what's going on?" I'm going to counties and agencies and law enforcement and you name it, and saying, "Can you tell me what's going on so that I can go to Washington and fill up the backpack and bring it back to the district to help the constituents here." I just want to make one more point that, I have been going around the district, and it's perceived as being very Republican. But, what we've been able to find out is that the vast majority of the voters are actually registered as independents. They probably lean Republican, which is why it's considered a safe district. But as I'm having conversations with people, almost universally people agree that Washington is broken and that we need to bring back civility. We need to bring in new leadership and people that are willing to reach across the aisle and compromise with each other for the betterment of the entire country and to serve the needs of the people and not just the special interest groups.
Yeah, and I think we've been hearing that from candidates that we've talked to around the country. So I'm hopeful that this new class of Democrats that will all be elected in the fall will be able to really help shift the culture.
Yeah, I think we've got a really good chance of a blue wave this fall, but we're going to have to do a lot of work to make sure that it happens.
Yeah, my favorite phrase I heard recently was, it's not a blue wave, it's blue sweat.
That's good.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and we're really grateful for what you're doing in the 4th District.
Thank you.
So turn that Daffy Duck district blue.
So that's our goal. And thank you again for reaching out. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to Two Broads Talking Politics. Our theme song is called Are You Listening? Off the album Elephant Shaped Trees by the band Imunari, and we're using it with express permission of the band. Our logo and all original artwork is by Matthew Weflin and is done expressly for Two Broads Talking Politics. We can be found on our website at twobroadstalkingpolitics.com, You can reach us by email at twobroadstalkingpolitics@gmail.com, on Twitter @twobroadstalk, on Facebook and Instagram, and you can support us on patreon.com. You can find our podcast on Apple